Hey buddies, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Mara here with a very beautiful face, like you can already see. I always like to say stay subscribed to this channel because we try to create a balance. We live, we learn, and we have fun. Okay, so try and stay subscribed. I always say that. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. But before then, I would love to say I'm going to be blinking a lot because the light is just directly in front of me. So if you notice that I'm blinking so much, please bear with me. My eyes are quite sensitive to light, okay? And there's really no sunlight today for me to film with, so I'm filming with my ring lights. So let's get back into the video. I put out a video a couple of days back when I said that how I got my Canadian visa approved in 10 days, and I asked you guys to also like ask me questions in the comment section and send me DMs. And most of the questions that I got was centered around proof of funds, and it got draining trying to like explain to one person and explain to the other person. So I'm making this video so that I can always refer people to it and people that will see this video also to help them about how to prove funds for Canada immigration, right? All right, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So if you see me looking down, I have my laptop here and I also have like my notepad here so that I stay guided throughout this video and not waste your time and my time. So the video is going to be divided into 4 parts. In the first part, we're going to be talking about what is proof of funds and how can you prove funds for Canadian immigration, especially if you're coming as a student. In the second part, we're going to be talking about how much you actually need as a student that wants to move to Canada in your account to show that you can actually sponsor yourself when you arrive Canada. In the third part, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my experiences and how I actually funded myself to be here. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I funded myself by myself, okay? So I'm going to also give you guys hints on that. Then the last part is going to be like more like a question answering section and advice section via like answering some of the questions that I got in my DM, and then some things that I also saw online, some comments that I saw in some creators pages, when people ask questions surrounding proof of funds. So I'm going to also answer all of that in this video. This video is also going to have a timestamp so that you can skip to the part that most interests you or is most peculiar to your journey and your process, following what I had already explained, because this video is going to have 4 different parts. I'm going to give a disclaimer before I forge ahead. I am not a consultant, okay? I am not in any way licensed to practice as an immigration consultant, but every information I share here is based off my experience and experiences of others that I've met in this phase of immigration and coming to Canada. So let's get to the first part of this video. What is proof of funds and how can you truly prove that you can support yourself in Canada? Proof of funds is a way of proving that you are financially capable to sponsor and support yourself while you arrive Canada. Also, just in case you have people accompanying you to Canada, maybe your family, your loved ones, your children, also a way that you can actually prove that you can take care of them during your stay in Canada, at least the first 1 year of your stay. So let's go on to talk about ways that you can actually prove that you can sponsor yourself in Canada. So at this point, I'm going to be looking down and staring at my notes because I have a lot of things here that I don't want to miss. All right, it is very important for me to say that proof of funds is one of the major reasons why people get rejected, okay? If I've met 10 people that got their visa was denied, okay, 7 out of that 10 was due to the lack of funds. And I understand how it's how hard it is in Nigeria, and also how young people want to actually leave the country, but they have limited resources to do that. When I share my personal experience and how I navigated through it, hopefully it helps you. I don't know, but then I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys ways that you can actually tell or present to the immigration officer that is going to handle your application that you can actually support and sponsor yourself. So the first one would be self-sponsorship, okay? You sponsoring yourself. Assuming you want to move to Canada as an international student, you want to come here to study, and you're putting in your visa and you're telling the visa officer, okay, I am the person sponsoring myself. I have the money, I have the resources to sponsor myself through or see myself throughout the duration of my study. Okay, that is what self-sponsorship is. And for you to navigate through this process, you need to show the visa officer proof actually that you can sponsor yourself. Apart writing it down in your personal statement, which I'm going to make a video for personal statement. Apart writing that down, you need to provide means that you're working or you own money, or they like you have income coming into your account, and you're going to present your statement of account, which the visa officer is going to verify. Okay, because the Canadian government do not want immigrants to come to Canada and constitute nuisance. All right, so they still want to be sure that in as much as they are letting you come here, that you can sponsor yourself, bearing in mind that they know that yeah, you'll be able to work eventually, but they still want you to be able to show that okay, before I can stabilize and get a work, I am able to sponsor myself. I mean, before now, international students were allowed to work 20 hours in a week, but just a couple of months back, the Premier of Canada, I don't know if that's what they call him, said that international students can now henceforth work, unlimited hours till sometime towards the end of 2023. So like this is one of the best news ever, and there's no better time to move to Canada for international students than now. So back to self-sponsorship. If you want to sponsor yourself here, you can do that with your personal accounts. You're able to show your bank statement to the immigration officer that is going to handle your visa, saying that okay, I'm sponsoring myself. Apart writing it down on your personal statement, which will make more videos on that, you're supposed to like present your account statement to them, and every other thing that you think financially would aid your application. If you have landed properties, if you have properties, if you have stuff that you can also add to back up your financial capacity, please do well to do that. The second way you can actually show the visa officer handling your application that you can support yourself here is through gift of deed. Okay, some people also come here using gift of deed. Gift of deed is just a process whereby a loved one, a family just gives you money, property, or anything that can actually equate to resources. Okay, and saying that, oh, I'm giving this person this freely without any a desire to get this money back. Okay, and the person gifting you that money, let's just say it is your father. Your dad is supposed to like write a letter to this immigration officer saying, oh, Chibike is my son, Calvin is my son, Janet is my daughter, and I just want to give her or him this money, to support him or her, that this kid has been a blessing to my family, all those kind of good stuff, and they are gifting you this money to just go ahead and further your education. That is the only time the immigration officer expects a lump or a huge sum of money dumped in your account. If you go get money anywhere and dump in your account without explaining it, I tell you, you might get a rejection, because the visa officer do not want to see that money just drops in your account. They need explanation. So if it's through the gift of deed, your dad is going to also, to strengthen your application, have to provide his own account statement, probably show you when the money left his account to yours, and then also your own account statement that kind of shows your own account and what is inside the account. So that is just all about gift of deed. As long as you are able to explain where that money came from, you are good, because no immigration officer wants to see a lump of 10 million, 20 million in your account from nowhere. That is a huge red flag. Even you as an immigration officer, you might you wouldn't even consider giving the person a visa, because you feel like, oh, they just borrowed this money and they're going to have you returned after. But if you're able to bring your father's account statement as well, I just advise this. Some people might just say your own account statement is enough, but I would always advise, if you can bring your own account statement, add it to that of your father, showing that okay, my dad gifted me this money, this was when he left his account, and this was when it entered my account. I feel like the visa officer will be more encouraged and convinced to give you your visa if every other thing that you had submitted tallies and just works well. Ignore my use of all right, so let's get to the third means in which you can prove that you can support yourself in Canada. that will be through a grant or scholarship. Okay, I've had friends that came here through scholarships from their organizations in Nigeria. So let's say your organization in Nigeria is sponsoring you or giving you a grant, so it is good. Like, and as long as the grant they are giving you, let's say it is 15,000 Canadian dollars, and your expenses and everything is 13,000, trust me, the money is more than enough. You probably don't need to provide your own account statement and stuff. All you need to do is to make sure those people bring their account statement and they have a written letter to the immigration officer saying, okay, I am so and so from so and so organization, and we've seen so and so potential in this person, and we want this person to go ahead to Canada to further their education, you know, and we just like want to support this person with so and so amount of money. I tell you, really, that is like the simplest, and that is all you need, and they're able to sponsor you, and they truly say they will. I mean, why not? And then the second one is scholarship. Okay, if you've gotten a scholarship from anyone, any organization, family member, loved one, church, or what have you from Nigeria, okay, let them just provide. The same thing applies to grants. Let them just provide, you know, information, account statement that they had done this, and a letter that, okay, this is what we are doing for this person, and I tell you, you are good to go. Or even if you have a scholarship already in Canada, I have a friend that got a grant from his organization in Nigeria and also got a scholarship in this university he was going to in Canada. All he did was just to bring the bank statement from the organization and also the letter of scholarship from the university, and he was good. He didn't have to present any other proof of financial support. So the fourth means of proving you're financially capable of sponsoring yourself in Canada, that is most peculiar or most common with us Nigerians or Africans, is via family. Okay, and I know that that is what most people use. All right, and that is going to be the last that I'm going to be discussing for this section. So you can present a bank statement saying my family, my father, my mother, my aunt, my uncle, you know, wants to sponsor me. And let me tell you guys something, the Canadian immigration system, they are always more like welcoming of this particular idea, and also like every other one I've mentioned, don't get me wrong, but what I mean here is that when you say I'm being sponsored by a father, my mother, my sister, or my brother, like it makes more sense, and they just see the reason why your father would want you to further your education. It's no rocket science. It's just glaring that, okay, I want the best for my daughter, I want the best for my son, and that is why I'm sending him or her there, you know, to study. And of course, their parents will be able to provide their bank statement and a letter of support to the immigration officer saying, I am sponsoring my daughter and I have so and so amount of money in my account. Find my account statement attached, you know, and stuff like that. And I tell you, you are good. If you go and bring like someone that is so distant, like, or just saying a colleague or a friend, you know, it's, of course, people have done that and they got their application, don't get me wrong, whatever means you have, as long as you're able to prove it. But like, they always love it when it's family, because they understand you don't need to think too much to see the reason why a father would want to support her daughter to do her, you know, to study abroad. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying. So that is going to be the last I'm going to mention for this section. So how much do you really need in your account as a student coming to Canada? I heard like a lot of people have asked me this question, to be honest, and during my process too, I was really confused about this question. So let me just explain it, and I hope that this explanation helps someone. All right, so if you're coming to Canada as an international student, the immigration consultant expects you to have at least your 1 year tuition fee. I don't know if this makes sense. So let's say your tuition is 3,000 Canadian dollars. You are expected to have a 1 year tuition fee in your account, plus an additional 10,000 Canadian dollars, which is going to be for your living expenses. All right. So assuming you're coming, like I said, 3,000 Canadian dollars plus it to 10,000 Canadian dollars, that is 13,000 Canadian dollars. That is what you are expected to have in your account. But of course, I would always advise, if you have more than that, please do well to have it. It's better to have more than to, you know, have less. Okay, if you have more than that, do well to like include it into, you know, just put in the money, just put in as much as you have. Okay, and then bearing in mind that if you're coming with dependents, if you have your family, your husband, your kids coming with you, you're supposed to also have additional 4k, 4,000 Canadian dollars for them. If you're coming with a family of 3, you are supposed to have additional 4,000 Canadian dollars for each of those family members that you're coming with. I don't know if this makes sense. So that is literally how much you're supposed to have in your account if you're coming to Canada as an international student. So you have to find out from your school, find out how much your tuition is worth, okay, and just add 10,000 Canadian dollars to it. But let me say this, some people have had less of the amount that they are actually supposed to have, and they still got their visa. Sometimes it's beyond proof of funds. Proof of funds is one of the major reasons why people get denied. But sometimes too, the visa officer might see your strengths in some other applications or documents, that you had submitted, and might decide to maybe overlook, maybe shortage of the money. But then it is still better to have more than enough, okay? I don't say that I said you should have small. It's still better to have way much more than that. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope that you understand it, that if you're coming, you're supposed to have your tuition fee, 10,000 living expense for you, and then every other dependency that you're coming with should have an additional 4,000 Canadian dollars. So just do the math. And some people would also ask, how do I convert this money? Okay, so when I was doing my process, I just used the normal exchange rates, okay, current exchange rates of Canadian dollars, when I was in Nigeria, to just convert my money and just like know exactly what amount I'm putting into the account. And of course, it is still going to be in Naira. You're not converting your Naira to Canadian dollars to put, except you have a Canadian account that you want to use to prove your funds, which we'll get to that part in the later part of this video. But you can have your money in Naira, in your Naira account, and just submit in your account statements, and that really is all you need, okay? So coming to the text session, where it seems to be like you guys have so much interest, I've said in a couple of videos that I sponsored myself here, okay? And I've gotten a lot of messages about that. Trust me when I say I sponsored myself, I did, and like there's a balance to that, okay? And when I say that, people, I think some messages that I have gotten kind of deep. People think that I don't know what you think, maybe I did a magic. No, I still went through the process, and I still like financed myself to be here. All right, so I'm just going to give you guys a background information about my own personal experience, and actually how I was able to prove my funds, and I am here in Canada. So prior to when I was ready to move to Canada to further my education, I began to think because proof of funds happens to be like one of the biggest challenge for us in Nigeria, like I already said. So I already like started engaging my thoughts, what and how I wanted to like prove my funds even before I began this process. All right, so I want to like give like a brief background, okay? So at that point in Nigeria, I don't know. Okay, this is too more detailed to give, but I'm just going to give it so that you guys don't, bother me anymore about this. So I knew that I wasn't going to use either of my parents, not because, I didn't want to use them, or because they wouldn't fit, all right, but strictly because I felt like another option would work better for me, because I had given this a lot of thought and research. All right, so what I did is that I used an uncle's account to prove my funds. And the background to this is this: in Nigeria, people that know me personally, they know this. In Nigeria, I studied under a scholarship, an uncle's scholarship. All right, so my parents really enjoyed, they were not bothered. So I went to school under an uncle's scholarship. This is not going to apply to everybody, but because you guys asked, let me just give you the gist. So when I wanted to move here, I just wanted to like have someone that is quite, or where I can prove like a great kind of connection when it comes to my academics. So what I did was to use the same uncle's account. I just approached my uncle and I told him what I wanted to do, and he was very welcoming, and God bless your spirit, uncle, if you're watching. He was so willing to assist me. So, you know, what I did was just to go ahead and start my application, you know. But let me tell you guys something, that it would be an advice. This section of the video might take long, but because I really want to express this and explain it, so that when I say I sponsored myself, people don't think I didn't get support. No, I got support from family, okay, but most of the push was from me. Before I began to like push my admission, my brother was already abroad studying, and I knew like my parents had my younger siblings too to take care of. At that point, I've always been an independent person. I really didn't want to bother them. Of course, my mom still supported me eventually through everything. But from the beginning, when I knew that I wanted to move, what I did was I started saving. I started saving some money. This money I was saving was just for me to put in my admission, pay for my admission fee, pay for my visa fee, do my biometrics, do my medicals. So before I even put in for my admission, I already started like saving money, removing some money into different accounts for the purpose of my immigration. So when I was set to move, everything I was spending was coming from that amount, from that account that I had set aside. So it was just like planning, okay? I had planned it and left that money because I didn't want to have to call home or call my mom or bother my parents for anything. Like, I just didn't want to. I just wanted to push in the application, do everything. If I get the visa, of course, my parents are going to pay for my tuition and support me. But I just wanted to go ahead and do this process by myself and, you know, make them proud. So I saved up all this money, and I put in my application. I paid for my application for admission. Then the next phase was I paid for my medicals, paid for my police character clearance, paid for everything. At every stage that I needed to cross, you know, to the next, I didn't have to call my parents for anything because I already had the money saved down for it. And it's not even like it's huge sum of money. If you're able to save like 250,000 to 500,000, you can really start up your application, okay? And remember, I took the NSC route, which is even more expensive, all right, which I had to write IELTS, all these things I did from that money. So if you're not taking the NSC route, you probably don't need to write IELTS, all right? So it's not like it's so much money. I just had to set that money aside because if not, I'll probably, you know, spend it or use it and solve other needs. But I knew that this was my major need at that moment and what I wanted. So I had to set out that money for that purpose. So this is just an advice to you guys. If you want to like start this process, just try and save up something, or have an account where a section of your earning in a month just goes to, and you know that, okay, I'm going to do this for like 6 months or 3 months, depending on how much you earn, and then the next coming month I'm going to push out and start my application. So that was how I started. That was, you know, the thought I had, and I just thought to share because someone might need this tip. So let's get back into it. And in the same process of me saving up this money, I already thought about my proof of funds and knew that I was going to be using my uncle, not my parents. I also want to I also kind of like did want to surprise my parents, you know, because like, of course, they eventually found out the pressure was too much. I had to tell them. I wanted to like shock them, but like the pressure got too much. My mom, my father, my dad, you know, got involved at a point. So let me, you know, go back to that. So when I knew that, okay, using my uncle's account would give me a better chance, since I already have like an academic history with the family, and this uncle is from my mother's side and is not even my mother's immediate brother, okay, it is more like distant. My great grandmom and his great grandmom too are siblings. Like, it's just a whole lot of long explanation that I don't even want to go into, but just know that it's not like it's like the immediate, it's more like the extended family stuff. So when I say that this whole visa thing is also, you know, God, you know, that kind of helps. It's literally just God. And also how you package your application, because it's very important. I tell you, if any visa officer had seen my application, nobody would deny me visa, because I took my time. If you haven't seen that video of how I got my visa in 10 days, please do well to see it. It's going to be like the video before this one, or 2 videos before this one. I'll also link it up in the description box. All right, so when I knew that I wanted to like forge ahead with this plan with my uncle's account, I just approached my uncle and told him there are some good people, okay, and my uncle was more than willing to assist me. And I went ahead to start, you know, my admission, and everything was just going smoothly. And yeah, and that was it. So when it got to like funding, at that moment my uncle did not have the exact amount that I needed to be in his account, and that was like the biggest challenge that I had, because I had to like put money into the account. So now let me come back to the factor about like the fact of dropping money into an account. There are a few exceptions to this, okay, which applies to my own application. So my uncle owned a business, and he has like a heavy business that you see invoices of 50 million, 30 million, 100, like a lot. Like the business is a construction heavy business. All right, so he always had like good money, and that was even why I really wanted to use him. But along the line, the business was slow, so the money was not there. And remember, for NSE, you actually need more funds than what I had explained. You need more funds. So what I did was to get the money and then put the money in my uncle's account. All right, and at a point too, it was a bit like I couldn't get all the money, all the complete money I needed, and then I had to also use proof of funds people to get money and put inside the account. All right, so this is me bearing myself to you guys and telling you guys how I sponsored myself here. It's not like I had all that money. No, I got support from family. You know, I also use proof of funds people because I put in a lot of money in that account. All right, but it's just relative to you and what you can afford. You don't need to like kill yourself, as long as you know that you're meeting the requirement, or at least you're within that range of what they require, is good. But I used like way more money than they could have even imagined to prove my funds. So because my uncle's business account already had history of transactions of 50 million, 10 million, 20 million, 4 million, like the least you could see there is like little thousands. Like it's a heavy account. So dropping in a huge sum of money into that account was not so much of a problem, because the visa officer, they are going to track that account. They are going to look through the account statement, and they would see the kind of money that comes into the account. Even the kind of money that comes into the account was not even up to what I dropped into the account. So they would know that this person truly has this money. And let me say this, my uncle was not sponsoring me. Okay, my parents were sponsoring me, but we needed an account that, you know, can give me more chances to get my visa. And of course, people that I have some academic, that was a no-brainer for me. Like I had an academic history, you know, or relationship with the same family. All right, so that was how I literally proved my funds. I dropped the money in my uncle's account. The accountant helped me go to the bank and got my bank statement, and I used it to submit for my visa. I hope that is clear now, and you guys won't have further questions to ask me. It's just like being able to understand the rules and walk yourself through it and navigate through it. And also, one thing I did that kind of made my proof of funds strong was that I went all out. I emailed my school and got a letter, because I went to a private school in Nigeria, right? So I told them, and they knew that I was my uncle's word when I was in school. So I told them that I needed a letter that proves that my uncle sent me to school, and my university like sent it to me. Imagine showing all of that and the account, telling the immigration officer that this person that sent you to school in Nigeria, my school was not also the cheapest, okay, in Nigeria. I want to still pay your tuition to move to Canada. And coming from the reputable family that my uncle is from, there was no way that they would actually deny me my visa. All right, so that was how I literally navigated into it. When I finally, and bear in mind that I didn't pay for tuition, so people still pay for tuition and get denied. I did not pay for my tuition before I put in my visa. I didn't pay. It was after I got my visa that my parents paid for my tuition. All right, so when I said I sponsored myself, it was kind of like, as in, I just worked my way through it, thought about it, did my research, found out what was going to work best for me. So that's why I always say what works best for you and what is peculiar to your own application. So I'm going to head over now to answer some questions that I saw in the comment section. Please, that Q&A is very important. Do not skip that part. It is very important because some questions that people asked, and I also, like, when I was reading this was, I'm like, wow, these are really like good questions to ask. So I'm just going to like, so heading to the advice and Q&A section. All right, don't skip this part. This part is very important. I want to say that, yeah, even if your family is sponsoring you, even if you are being sponsored by family and all, please, if you are above the age of 20, please try and provide, and you are working. When you are applying for your Canadian visa, especially for masters, postgraduate people now, you are going to have to submit your resume, your CV, okay? And if you claim that you're working, please provide your pay stub. I don't know if that's what they call it in Nigeria, or pay slip from your employer saying that you earn so amount. All right, I did that for my application. In fact, as at the time I did my application, I was already self-employed. I wasn't working for anybody, but I had to talk to my previous employer, and he provided me with the employment letter saying that I was still working with them. And just with MS Word, I created the pay stub by myself. I just, with his permission, of course, with the letterhead from the company, I created the pay stub saying that this was how much I earned. And at that point, I wasn't working. Let me be honest. Okay, I wasn't working for anybody. So you need to, if you're coming for your master's or above the age of 2022, and that is, you are saying, okay, you are sponsoring yourself, but you also have your resume, it's good to also present that you were earning, or you are earning some money too. That makes sense, because if you're just saying you are like, let's say you are 30 and someone is sponsoring you, you go get some money now. Just also, write it in your this thing, that you also have some money for yourself. You don't have to submit your person. Now that's different. I did not submit my account statement. I only put in that pay slip that I had created, saying that I was earning so and so amount. Let's say you are earning 150 in a month. You just say it, you earn this amount in a month. January this, February this. I don't know if I see that stuff that I created. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like on the screen. But if I don't, just like put the month and how much you earn, how much, maybe you can also add the section where you can have holiday benefits, all those things. I know those things don't work in Nigeria, but those were the things that I did. Okay, since you guys are so interested in it, so I did. Those were the things that I did that I feel like, yeah, it's good. It just kind of makes your application very, very strong. And remember, the second thing I'm going to say too is that if you had paid your tuition fee prior to applying for your visa, let's say out of 3,000 you've paid 1,500, please, you can minus that 1,500 from the total sum of money that you can have in your account. It's totally fine, as long as you provide the receipt that you have paid that fee to your school. It's totally fine. You can minus it from the total sum you're going to have in your bank account to prove your funds. The immigration officer totally knows that, and they understand that perfectly well. And remember, the amount that I mentioned does not apply to NSC. Please see the video I talked about earlier when I got my visa in 10 days. Okay, because I mentioned the amount that you need for NSC. You basically need 30,000 Canadian dollars, okay, for your NSC. So also for your gift of deed, if you're using a gift of deed, you need to get an affidavit from the courts. That is also standard, right? And then a support letter from the person that is giving you the gifts. I already said this before, and I'm going to further buttress it right now. If anybody is sponsoring you, it is always better when they are family, okay? When there are some people you can easily just give explanation to. This is my brother, this is my sibling, this is my sister, this is my uncle. And of course, when you provide maybe their passport or means of identification. I remember every person you are using for your proof of funds or any proof of stuff, please always provide means of identification. These are some of the things that like people don't tell you, people don't say, but always provide means of identification, because the immigration officer would want to see maybe the person's information to make sure it tallies with what you have in what they have in the accounts, the account name, like all those little details. Do not even ignore them. All right, so just make sure that those people are your siblings. For me, I submitted everything, passport, even my brother that is abroad, everybody, like I submitted everything that Like when I say everything now, I mean their means of identification, either a passport, driver's license, or what's that now, the country's means of identification. Please provide as many documents as you can for your application. I already said that, okay? I'm just going, as I'm just trying to like buttress it. Always like provide enough, okay? It's better to have enough than to have less. Have enough than to have less, okay? Nobody's going to say you have too much. They are going to only deny you because you don't have enough, all right? I've said this before, I'm just going to say it again. Do not dump a huge sum of money in your account without properly explaining in your personal statement to the visa officer where that money is coming from. That is a huge red flag, and I tell you, is a good, in fact, once they see, they might not even go ahead and reviewing all that part of your application. It's enough to just say no to it. So my final advice in this session is always just be determined and driven. If you're success and goal driven, I tell you, nothing is gonna deter you. If I had looked at the condition like that I was in then, or because I didn't really want to stress my parents, the financial burden in Nigeria, it was so tough. If I had looked at those situations, then I would have still remained comfortable in Nigeria. Like, I don't have a problem in Nigeria, okay? I would have still remained there, lived my life, just, enjoy my life as I was. But then I decided to take that bold step. And if I had waited for my mom, of course she would give me the money to start. My mom is just the best human being on earth. She would have given me the money, but I didn't want to wait for them. I just went ahead, and once everything started working well, the whole support I needed just came. So just be goal driven, success driven, just go for it. I tell you, go for it. At the end of the day, this year is the best period. Now is the best time for you to start your application. Stop waiting till tomorrow, because one thing about immigration is that it actually gets tougher by the day. Like, the rules get tighter somehow. So please start now, and I look forward to seeing you in Canada, even though you might not be in my province. All right, so let's get to the Q&A section that some of you guys asked me, and then some questions that I caught from creators page, like I already said. All right, this person says, can I use a bank statement other than direct relatives, such as an uncle, aunt, in-law? Yeah, I already answered that. You can, as long as you're able to prove your relationship with them. Does that affect the chances of you being approved? It doesn't actually. It doesn't. Just like I said, sometimes if it's family and you can explain it, but if you are in a certain age, maybe you're already like well advanced, you have to actually go ahead to explain more reasons why those people would want to sponsor you. Because when you're already above 30, or even above 25, no, 25 to 30 is still a perfect age. When you're above 30, maybe in your 40s, you just have to explain why they are interested in investing in you, because they already assume that, oh, you're already doing well in Nigeria at that age, so why do you want to come to Canada? So it's not like it affects your chances, but just be able to explain it. Can a student have a co-sponsor? Of course, you can have a co-sponsor, okay? Just like, let me use my case to explain. If I had posed myself as a sponsor and just wanted to have my uncle as a co-sponsor too, perfect. All I needed to do is to provide my own bank statement and provide the co-sponsor's bank statement, and also a letter from the co-sponsor saying that they are sponsoring me, they are co-sponsoring me because I'm so and so, I'm so important to them, I'm such a good kid, I'm the best thing that have happened to their family. You get me? So yeah, that's it. Sure, you can. So the next question is, can a student use a corporate bank account statement from a relative as proof of funds with evidence of company ownership? Why not? And this even brings me to this part that I skipped. My uncle did not just submit his bank statement. He submitted his CAC document. I went to his office and got quotations for the contract they've done, quotations, and I made sure I collected quotations that had huge money, like $1 million, 20, sorry, not $1 million, 100 million, 20 million, 50 million, 13 million, 7 million. So quotations. And please don't be scared, don't feel like, oh, the money I'm mentioning is too much. No, it's just because of the nature of the business that he was doing, or he does. Yeah, that I had access to all of that. It still applies to you. If your co-sponsor, the businesses they are doing is so and so, that earn them 100,000, 200,000, 300, 1 million, please provide it if you can get your hands on those quotations or receipts and stuff. So I submitted those quotations from my uncle's businesses, those receipts, his CAC documents and everything, ownership of business. I submitted all those things, and so still submitted his passport, which was bearing his name. When they see the CSC document and it tallies with the name on the what's that now, on his passport, and they are very sure that this person is actually the owner of this business. All right, so I think I still have some of those questions in my laptop. I'm just going to pull it up now. If I need to study for 2 years, do I need to show 2 years of total expense and funds? Like, do you need to prove your funds for 2 years? Some people would say yes, but let's be realistic. Sometimes it's not quite. If your tuition is 13,000 or 12,000 just for tuition, how are you going to prove it, bring all that money for 2 years? So sometimes if you have 1 year is also like very good. So if you have 2 years, fine. If you have 1 year, good as well. Go ahead and put in your application. If I will study for 2 years, okay, I already answered that. Do I need to explain the big deposit in my account? I already explained that. Can I use my full scholarship as my proof of funds? I already explained that. Can I use my property investments or rental income as proof of funds? Yes, you can. All right, you can use your properties, just like I explained already. If you're sponsoring yourself and you submitted everything, always please provide everything that you own, resources, anything. If someone is sponsoring you, always provide all those things. It just gives them this thing that, okay, you have money. And also, this also kind of connects with your family ties. I'm going to make that video because a lot of people get rejected because they don't have enough family ties to their home country. And if you have good investments and properties in your home countries and you did it at ties as well, apart using it from proof of, aside using it as proof of funds, you're also using it as ties back home, because they know that you have investment, then you go back. All right, so it is also a very good one. If you have the certificates, if you have the documents for it, provide it. It is going to help you both ways, as proof of funds and also home ties. I will live with my relative or friends and they will provide a proof of accommodation and food. Do I still need to show my proof of funds for living expenses? Why not? Of course, it kind of depends. You have to, because I feel like how long do you want to live with those people? Okay, so your proof of funds should already cover up everything, and those people housing you, they're supposed to also give you a letter saying that they are going to be housing you and clothing you and providing food for you. So it's quite dicey if they're saying, oh, we are wholly going to take care of this person because this person is our family. You might not need to. But if they are not fully going to do that for you, you just have to provide your own. And then again, when you have more money, like I already said, you have more advantage. So either ways, it's okay. And then I didn't say this, those people, if they're already in Canada, they need to provide their income and their tax, all those things, and pay slip. Do you understand? For them to like say, okay, we are actually going to be able to take care of this person. And when the immigration officer verifies, they'll be like, okay, this person can do it, and then that is it. So this one says, can I open a GIC account for other than my home country? So a GIC account is like an investment account. Okay, I think you can only open it, I don't know if it applies to more banks, but in Canada, Scotia Bank, so you have to like open an investment account with Scotia Bank, kind of put some money, a certain amount of money there, so that when you come to Canada, I think the first month you come, the bank is going to give you 2,000 Canadian dollars from the money that you had already invested in the bank, and subsequently they start giving you like a certain amount of money that I'm not very sure of. If I find that, I'll put it on the screen. Okay, I think, yeah, so you can invest between $10,000 to like as much as you want as a student. So if you have such investment or such an investment account, you can use it and prove your funds for your studies in Canada. So guys, we've come to the end of this video. I hope that I answered all your questions. All right, and yeah, and then I know that a lot of people that also messaged me are not in Nigeria, they live abroad, right? So I know someone that moved from abroad, but they were able to prove funds with families back home. So if you have your family back home and they are willing like to sponsor you, all they need to do is to still provide their bank statement Nigerian currency, even though you are not in Nigeria, for you, okay? And you can use it and go ahead and do your application. I hope this video is helpful. I hope you learned something or two. If you know someone that would need it, okay, do well to share with them. And I hope you enjoy, and I hope you actually consider subscribing to my channel at this part of the video. If you found anything I've said useful, please, we road to 1K. We need to hit this 1K subscribers in no time. And with that being said, I will see you guys in my next video. And do not forget, any video you want me to create for you, do well to always leave me that comment in my comment section, or send me a DM. My Instagram is always going to pop up on the screen at one point in this video, okay? Do well to send me a DM and I would answer you. But if it requires me to make a video like this, of course I would always do that. And thank you guys for watching. I love you, Sai. I love you guys so much, and see you in my next video.